Hey guys, Pras here with Yahoo Finance. I'm in the Mercedes-Benz EQS 580. This is the first Mercedes electric vehicle on the platform, the EQ platform. And this is in top level EQS trim, which is basically kind of like the S-Class, I would say. And there's a lot going on with this car. So let's start with sort of the platform. Like I said, it's a new, all new electric platform that they're going to start using for a lot of their other cars, including the EQE and EQB and things like that. This car in particular comes in a single motor setup, or in the 580 trim, a double motor all-wheel drive setup. That is the EQS 580, and that has around 516 horsepower. And in various trims, it starts at around 120. It can go up from there. Now, inside is where I think this car really shines. It's sort of stepping into the future in a profound way, in my opinion. We have the hyper screen that Mercedes is calling it in this test model, and it basically spans the entire dash. It's probably around 50 inches. There's the instrument panel under the hood. There's a huge widescreen monitor here in the center, and then there's also one for the passenger. And this allows the passengers to do things like enter in navigation destinations, change the audio, turn on the massaging seats. What this car has, any number of things the passenger can do while the driver is driving. So that's all pretty cool. And it just has the way this thing is laid out is just clearly thought out. Mercedes thought about what are cars going to be like down the line, and what do people want, and where do we want to be when we're talking about cars like this that are future forward, future looking. And that, with that said, you have a very cabin forward design, a huge windshield, pretty spacious in here, like an S-Class. And of course, Mercedes materials, fit and finish, are excellent, above really top notch, if not some of the best, if not the best in the industry. So you knew what to expect from that regard. Outside, exterior wise, it's hit and miss. I think it looks better in person, but I'm not a fan of the way this cabin forward design looks in the front. It kind of has a very, I don't want to say what I want to say, but basically it just seems, I'm not a fan of the kind of sloping exterior with the windshield down below the belt line, if you know what I mean. There's sort of the A-pillar kind of sinks below the belt line. Not really a fan of that, but some people like it, and it just kind of gives you a little bit of a Prius vibe, but in a much better way. The back looks much better too. I think it's the best part of the car is the rear and the rear three-quarter. In addition, this car, most importantly, has about 110 kilowatt-hour battery, getting this car, and also it's the single motor equivalent, around 350 miles of range or so. I was getting around 390 just based on the way I was driving, and when I received the car, the full tank of charge. So that's pretty great. Driving around town, I think this is where the car really shines. It's super solid and quiet, whisper quiet. It has the air suspension, which I believe is standard across all the EQS models, and that just absorbs everything. Anything that comes this way, potholes, crevasses in New York City, whatever you want to call it, it soaks it up. Really does a great job of that. You get a very S-Class vibe. And I think, just going back to the exterior, I sort of wish this car had the new S-Class body, because I think that car looks great, very handsome, looks nice, not super conservative. I think it looks aggressive in a good way for an S-Class. I kind of wish this car had that. But back to the actual driving of this car, yeah, it's great around town. It's super composed. Steering is very accurate, and also this car benefits from a rear-wheel drive system that makes this car, which is pretty long, feel very nimble. Making U-turns, making tight turns, super easy. It's something that you kind of want to see on a lot more cars down the line, especially big cars. I'm driving around here right now in a suburban type setting, and it's fine. Could try to get out on the highway here real quick, but open roads, this car is pretty quick with the dual motor setup. We're talking about over 500 horsepower. That's a lot of power this car can put down. and with a low center of gravity and just a slippery body, this car can get up pretty fast. Now, is it a Porsche Taycan 4S, Taycan Turbo? No, it's not like that. It's tuned to be a much more compliant, professional, a young professional, older professional type of vibe, going to work, commuting in a very, very cocoon-like, futuristic way. And I think that's where this car shines, is the fact that it's kind of giving us a peek into that future where we want to be with driving electric cars. A few knocks in the car, it seems a little bit, with stuff like this, when you're super cocooned, you are kind of taken away from the driving experience. It sort of feels like you're, in an alternate reality. Really, you don't really kind of have any true engagement with the road and the sound and just the feeling with the road. But that's sort of the deal with an EQS or an S-Class type of car is what you're trying to do is you're trying to take people away from the harshness of the road, and that's what this car does a great job of. The suspension can be a little bit wallowy. I'm doing a quick little turn here. Give me an example of how nice that rear wheel drive steering is. That's great. But yeah, it's a little bit floaty. That's how Mercedes wanted it to be, so I'm not surprised. But I could use a little bit more feedback, a bit stiffer ride. And you can dial that in with the sports setting, but it's still on the softer side. So this car, when we're talking about the prices involved, we're talking about competition like I said, the Taycan base, rear-wheel drive, maybe the 4S, if you can get a cheaper spec model. We're talking about Tesla Model S, of course, and the Audi RS e-tron, those cars, the GT e-tron. And I think if you're looking for something a bit more staid, a bit more comfortable, a bit more future forward, I think you can't go wrong with the EQS. I think it's a great first electric car on top, that top level from Mercedes. I would love to drive a sportier Mercedes electric car, see what they could do with that, see what they could do with this platform and actually make it a bit more hopped up. I think that would be the true test. But this car is a winner. Yes, it's going to cost you over 120 grand, 130, maybe 140 grand. But that's kind of the going rate for a luxury car at this level. So I'm a fan of the EQS. I think it's just, when you step into it, that's when you feel like you've really entered what Mercedes is, their thoughtful way of communicating and creating what they think an electric future is, and this is it. It's the EQS. I'm Pras. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you next time.